let's talk about Armando Broja for a moment. Well, I say a moment, probably about 10 minutes, realistically. He's in the news a lot, okay? Newcastle are interested, we're interested, and now it's suggested that Everton are interested. Before I get on to all of that stuff, I just think there's a really simple solution to this, or there's a card to be played here. If we really want him, I think we should want him. I think we do want him, but there's a game of patience. There's two different card games. Back on gambling again. Two different card games. It appears we're playing a game of patience. Well, I don't want us to. I want us to play top trumps, if you like. And the top trump card that we've got above and beyond Newcastle and Everton is Declan Rice. Chelsea want Declan Rice. They want him back. Chelsea can't afford him this season. I'm working on the information that I've got. Okay. Declan Rice has been told he has to remain at West Ham for another season. Apparently there's a bit of a gentleman's agreement there with that, at which point he can leave. The natural link is Chelsea, even more so now that Man City have signed Calvin Phillips. You would imagine their need for a central midfielder next season has lessened somewhat. So who would be the players next season for Declan Rice? Well, you'd imagine Man United another season would be a contender again. Would Liverpool? I don't know. They don't really spend that sort of money. That being said, they might well be keeping their powder dry. One big signing each season. You don't know. I do wonder if Tottenham would want him. Depends how well Conte does. I would hope that Declan Rice wouldn't sign for Tottenham. But it does appear that the most likely destination is Chelsea. Anyway, the top trump card would be, look, you give us favourable terms in relation to us buying Broja, and we'll basically give you first refusal on Declan Rice. Don't play ball with us now, then we won't give you first refusal on Declan Rice. Not only will we not give you first refusal on Declan Rice, because at that point, with his option being exercised, he'll have 2 more years left on his contract. I would be inclined to actually turn around and say, do you know what, we might not sell him to you at all. And if a deal can't be done, do you know what, we'll keep him. We'll run him into the last year of his contract, and we'll probably still get 70, 80 million for him. And we've kept a world-class player for another season. Basically, I would play a little bit of hardball with Chelsea, but politely. A little gentleman's agreement, if you want. As I think we've got a gentleman's agreement with Declan Rice, maybe we should have one with Chelsea over this player. Now, I am aware that he's not everybody's first choice, but he appears to be David Moyes' first choice. And the reason I'm a little bit worried about it and think we should be getting a hurry up at the moment is it appears that David Moyes may well be close to losing his second choice, or third choice. We'll get to that in a minute. Newcastle have entered the fray. Now, apparently Newcastle only want him on loan. I don't get that. I don't understand that. I'm not sure I fully believe it. If Newcastle want him, Newcastle have got the financial capabilities to go and get him. The Everton one, I would just dismiss. I discount that altogether. Well, look, Newcastle got lots of money. We've got a bit of money. Everton have got no money. That's why they had to sell Richarlison. Don't take my word for it. Just go and research their deadline. They had to get the sale done for Richarlison on that day just so as they could stick and just sneak under financial fair play for Premier League, the assessment period, and not be deducted points. Now, bearing in mind they had to hurriedly sell what they'd probably consider to be their best player, it's unlikely that they're going to be able to match anybody in terms of finances for either transfer fees or wages. It's why they want Harry Winks. It's why they've been really trying to get that for a lesser amount. I certainly do believe that if they go and buy Kieran Gibbs-White, who's a player I really like, by the way, I wouldn't mind West Ham being in for him, actually. If they go and pay 25 million for him, there's not a lot of money left in the pot. I wouldn't see them as contenders for Broja, and I wouldn't imagine Broja would want to go there. Broja and his family are apparently settled in London. That being said, you'd move to Newcastle. Why wouldn't you? It's not the other end of the earth because they've got a big project there. They've got there's an awful lot of reasons to join Newcastle. I can't think of too many at the moment to join Everton, even though there's a great club, Everton, of course. But at the moment, you wouldn't join them. So I think they are ruled out. I think the biggest problem is with this whole story about Thomas Tuchel wants to have a close look at him in a couple of pre-season games. Well, pre-season's upon us. Pre-season's starting sort of now anyway. And apparently wants to have a look at Conor Gallagher as well. I get that. I understand that. But I think I'd be probably saying to Tuchel as well, look, that's all very well and good, mate, but if you do want Declan next season, then I'll probably, try and get the hurry up on that. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a story that ran today, and either second or third choice is Youssef En-Nesyri, who's, of course, at Sevilla, played against us last season, who Moyes has been chasing for the best part of 2 years, maybe on the verge of joining Monaco. And therein lies the problem with this particular transfer. Now, before I go any further, where did I read that story? I read the story in the OneFootball app, which you can download by clicking the link underneath this screen or scanning that lovely QR code. I say a lovely QR code. It looks like any old QR code, doesn't it? But what's not any old app is the OneFootball app, because the OneFootball app is a fantastic football app. I know we say it, I know I publicise it every day, but honestly, myself and Gio, we genuinely use it every single day, because what it does, it puts all the West Ham news together for you, because when you sign up, it asks you your support, and it goes and cherry picks for all the news stories, searches them all, and finds only the ones that it thinks you might be interested in. Best of all, the app is free. Click the link below. They'll know you've come from Hammers Chat. So I'm going through the OneFootball app, and it had this story about Youssef En-Nesyri going to, it's being of interest to Monaco for 20 million. Now, look, his price has dropped significantly. I thought he had a better first game than second game when we played Sevilla in the Europa League last season. But again, that doesn't matter. Moyes wants him, and Moyes likes him, and that's all that's important. But I think he certainly slipped down a pecking order, even in terms of players that David Moyes wants to sign. But if we don't, it's just the way it is with football. You hope that David Moyes has got a list of targets. First choice, second choice, third choice, fourth choice. Wait for so long to try and sign Broja, you may well turn round and find that if you don't get Broja, then you may well turn around and find that your second and third choice have gone as well. And what does worry me about David Moyes is that if he's down to his fourth or fifth choice, you may think the same. I would be worried that he might think, actually, I'm not going to bother. I'll leave it. We'll go the whole season just with Antonio up front. I'm not totally doom and gloom, by the way, on this, on Moyes' transfer method. I understand that he wants to bring players in who improve the first team. And I think Moyes is the best manager we've had for a very, very, very long time. And I think this, sometimes gets a little bit forgotten. I'm pretty sure that next season we'll have another decent season. But you've got to bring the players in. And the whole thing about Broja is worrying me. The whole fact that Tuchel wants to have a look at him, the fact that other clubs, even though we've dismissed Everton, are interested. We've got a trump card. We've got to try and play it. Yes, Newcastle have more money, but we really do have a trump card there. And I don't want to be in this situation where we're almost feigning interest. So I think to the club Chelsea, we have to give Chelsea good reason for them to sell us the Mandalorian. I think we've also, as far as a player is concerned, give him good reason to join us. And I think this comes to the schmoozing again. I don't know what David Moyes said to Agurd, but we do know, because both of them have said as much, that there were a lot of conversations happening between the two people. He must have said something to Agurd that resonated with him, rather than just, we'll give you more money than Stade Rennais are giving you. They must have said, you'll get to fight it out fairly and squarely with Ogbonna for that position on the pitch. All right? I'd imagine there was something like that. I think he has to do the same with Broja. I also think, as long as we can sort of roughly match the wages, and I think we should, because Newcastle have indicated they're not going to pay over the top, by the way. I think we should be able to say to the player, and make it enticing enough to say, look, you come and join us here, we'll give you a fair crack at the whip. I also think maybe you'd look at Newcastle if you're a player and think, I'm not sure I'm getting in there. I'm pretty sure Newcastle will forever think that the Chris Wood signing was a good signing for them. I mean, they stayed up. I think it's hard to argue that they stayed up because of Chris Wood. Did he score one goal or something like that? But nonetheless, I think it was a good signing for Newcastle. It weakened, at the time, a relegation rival. It gave them an additional player, because I think Wilson did get injured anyway, didn't he? I know he does have a capacity to pick up an injury or two, Callum Wilson. The one person I don't think the transfer was probably good for was Chris Wood himself, aside from his bank balance, because, and I said this at the time, you were never going to look at Newcastle's team in 3 years' time and Chris Wood spearheading the attack. It was just not going to happen. They were always going to bring in better strikers. I think if you were any player at Newcastle, you'd probably be looking over your shoulder and thinking, this club, they say they carry the title of the richest club in the world. There's always going to be someone coming over and taking your place. If Broja wants to leave Chelsea, he's not going to want to walk into a situation that might be comparable. He's not going to want to walk in to a club that might have, let's be fair, 4 strikers come the end of the transfer window, and possibly incrementally each season getting better and better strikers. No, I think you come to West Ham, it's a good selling factor. Actually, we've only got 1 striker and you've got a fair chance of getting in the team because we've got a lot of games, we've got European competition, and we have a striker that gets knackered and gets injured sometimes. So I think there's a good selling point there. I think there's enough reasoning with Chelsea and with the player to be able to make this transfer stick. But I think we've got to chuck our weight around a little bit and use whatever leverage we've got in this particular deal. I do think Declan Rice is a big part of that. I think it'd be really good. I talk about Chelsea's pre-season starting soon. Ours starts, 3-4 days? I think the composition of the team, bearing in mind I think Declan Rice and Bowen are still out. They've got an extended holiday because they had England duty. I mean, it ain't going to look too clever. Players that you would have thought would have been filling some of those places, like youth players. Well, Perkins has already gone, hasn't he? There's not exactly been particularly gushing about Connor Coventry, and there's rumours that Okoflex is going to be leaving as well. So some of the players that you think might feature, we're left woefully thin, and I do think it's really advantageous for a club to get players in early. So I do believe the Broja deal, there are so many pitfalls, there's so many landmines, if you want, in this Broja deal, that I think we've either got to force it through and get it done early, or cut our losses and say, actually, we're going to go and move for our number 2 or number 3 target now. If we don't, and Moyes, you should have learned his lesson by the protracted let's call it a debacle in terms of transfer and trying to secure the services of Jesse Lingard, that we wait so long, we get to a point where actually it gets to the end, Tuchel either says, actually, I'll keep Broja, or they sell him to Newcastle, and then we turn round and we look at second and third choice and we find that they're gone too because we've just waited too long.